Secretary Tillerson said all options are on the table, but a Defense Department official added none of them are good options. Vlad?
And David, what exactly is the U.S. current policy and strategy for dealing with North Korea?
Well, the Trump administration is still working on a new plan for dealing with North Korea. What it's done so far, and what Secretary Tillerson did today, is declare the old plan that was followed by the Obama and Bush administrations dead. That plan counted on economic sanctions, cyber attacks, and covert sabotage to delay for as long as possible North Korea's nuclear weapons program. But the fact is that the North keeps launching missiles, keeps conducting underground nuclear tests, and each time it gets a little better. And on top of that, North Korea has this leader, Kim Jong-un, who seemingly will stop at nothing, including sending agents to assassinate his half-brother using nerve agent. So the Trump administration has begun a full-scale policy review of how to deal with North Korea, and what Secretary Tillerson said today, that all options are on the table, is code for meaning military options. That could be a preemptive strike against the North. It could be a further buildup of U.S. military forces on the Korean Peninsula. Those decisions haven't been made yet.
And the Secretary saying that the time of what he calls strategic patience has ended, David. Now I know he's headed to Beijing next, where he's expected to press China on these very issues. But has China at all responded to his comments in the meanwhile?
Well, he's going to find out what China's response is when he gets to Beijing on Saturday. But his words in South Korea, all options are on the table, were intended as much for China as they were for North Korea, because China doesn't want to see the U.S. launch a military preemptive strike against North Korea. China doesn't want to see the U.S. conduct a military buildup on the Korean Peninsula, and it most certainly doesn't want to see the U.S. reintroduce nuclear weapons to the Korean Peninsula, which is one of the options under discussion. So what the Secretary of State is going to do is say to China, in effect, look, you guys got to help us out here and really put the economic screws to North Korea, or we're going to be forced to do some things that you're not going to like.
All right. And David, let me just quickly ask you, in other news, the U.S. military is denying that it targeted a mosque in northern Syria where more than 40 people died. Tell us what happened.
Well, the U.S. has now released a photo that was taken 5 minutes after that strike was conducted. It was conducted last night at about 7 p.m., just after evening prayers had concluded in the mosque. And the picture that has now been released shows a building that is destroyed by some missiles and some bombs, and across the street from that, you see the mosque still intact. The Pentagon says the building that was destroyed was a community meeting hall that was being used by al-Qaeda to indoctrinate some of its fighters. And at the time of the strike, they said there were dozens of al-Qaeda operatives in the building, including some senior leaders. Now, there's been a lot of social media showing aftermath of that strike taken by people on the ground, but the Pentagon says that the social media it has seen contains no credible evidence that civilians were killed in the strike.
All right, David Martin reporting for us tonight. Thank you, David.
Sure thing.